My name is R. Crosby Lyles, and this is News from the Can. I did these calculations on Saturday, and I wasn't going to do a video. I thought about it, and one of the things I'm concerned about is spear in the chest to bearer of bad news is one thing, and the other thing is, a lot of people are already freaked out about this shit anyway, and why add fuel to the fire? I don't really want to freak people out. I'm not doing fear porn. There's advertising on this video, principally so that YouTube makes their money. I made like $1.50 over the past week. You know what I mean? I don't make money off of this shit. I put this up principally because if I know about something that's going to affect you and I don't tell you about it and you die, your blood is on my hands. That's the way I look at it. That's the only reason I do this. I asked my wife on Saturday, I said, hey, I stumbled across this thing. Should I do this? And she said, no, don't make a video. Then all of a sudden today, we're going to get supplies to make, for her garden. And she says, make the video. You should make that video. Why? Because people aren't taking it seriously. People are not taking COVID-19 seriously. Okay. This is a simple projection. You can do it on the back of an envelope. Anybody who's an average college mathematician like I am, I studied advanced differential equations in engineering school. So I know a little bit about mathematics. I'm not the best fucking mathematician in the world, but you don't have to be. Anybody can do a projection based on available data. This is how it works. February 29, 2020 was the first recorded death in the United States. That was in Washington State. April 4th, 2020, the death toll in the U.S. reaches 8,438. That was on Saturday. That's when I did this calculation. So that's the date that I'm working from. Rate of infection and subsequent death is exponential. This is known. You look at it and it's exponential. In any graph that they put up, and even the thing that the president put up last week, it's an exponential curve. We're early on in that. It's known to be an exponential curve. They were saying it could be as high as 1.8 or 1.5 million or something like that, but will probably be between 150,000 and 200,000 deaths. This is because maybe because they're using advanced models. Some models that make more considerations than just this. Rate of infection and subsequent death is exponential, meaning that the death toll doubles approximately every 3 days. We could keep track of how often the number triples, quadruples, or is raised by a factor of 10. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The curve always looks the same. Each threshold occurs a different number of days, so the base number is arbitrary. So you could say, well, it doubles every 3-point-something days. And that's just a handy, well, it doubles every so often. And then you look at that, you stretch that out, and those marks, so the second day or that first 3 days, the figure doubled. And then 6 days later, that figure doubled again. And then after that, so it's every 2 days, and it looks like it's exponential because what you're doing is you're multiplying it by 2 every time. So you take the first number that you started with and you multiply it by 2 to the n, which is an exponential, or it could be e to the n. Well, how many days does it take to reach the number e? Which gets us to the next thing. Statisticians use the exponential function. It's e, but it's a number. E is 2.7182818284. It's repeating. But that's what E is, basically 2.71. Statisticians use that because its dimensions have some handy attributes, which we don't need to go into here. The natural log is used to find out how many times E has been multiplied by itself to produce a particular number. So E multiplied by itself a number of times, that's your exponent. So the exponent says this is how many times a thing has been multiplied by itself. This function allows us to make a curve from past values that we can make short-term projections with if there aren't any changes to the paradigm. So a month from now is, according to the experts, according to everybody, is a short-term change. And just to kind of sort of interject here, the fucking horses have left the barn. This thing arrived and we didn't start social distancing or any of that stuff, testing, or we don't have the testing capability. We didn't start doing any of the stuff that we should have been doing right off the bat. So we can only imagine that whatever curve has been established up to now, because it's been going on now for 35 days, whatever's been going on up to now is probably going to continue to go. That curve is probably going to maintain for at least the next 30 days, unless some magical thing happens. That's just life. The cat is out of the bag. So, as of April 4th, Saturday, the death toll was 8,438. The natural log of 8,438 is 9.0405. The number of days between February 29th and April 4th, 2020 is 35 days. So, the first death was on February 29th in Washington State. April 4th, the death toll was up to 8,438. So that's 35 days. The number of times the exponent has ratcheted up in those 35 days is 35 divided by 9.0405, or 3.8889. So every 3.88 days, the number of deaths increases by a factor of E. 1 month from this past Saturday, April 4th, 2020, is 65 days from the date of the first recorded death on February 29th, 2020, which happens on May 4th, 2020. The exponent of our exponential function on that day will be 65 divided by 3.889, which equals 16.714. All of this gives us a projection of E to the 16.714, which equals 18,146,713 deaths in the United States alone. 18 million deaths in the United States alone. That's a back-of-the-envelope projection looking at the curve of the death rate alone, just looking at what the numbers did over the past 35 days. Established a curve from that. It's known to be exponential, and boom. A rough model would be the death rate times the initial condition, which is wherever you want to start. Whether it's this week, last week, you want to start on day 1, then it's just E times 1. And that's to the exponent of the number of days divided by 3.889. That numerator, 3.889, is related to E. So if I wanted to know how many times it was 10 times itself, then you would change the exponent to match the base, which is E. So, if that's not sobering, I don't know what the fuck is. And that's just a back of the envelope. That's just a rudimentary projection from the numbers that have already existed. Now, if you're going to tell me that the number of deaths that, we know there's an exponential curve and how it's passed around, something might magically change, but that's just the number of deaths, and that's applying an exponential curve to the number of deaths. If it maintains an exponential curve, why would you have an exponential curve and everything else and not an exponential curve in the death rate? So it sounds like, and you see people like Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, all of a sudden, he's got this deer in the headlights look because somebody came along and they said, "Hey, man, let me apprise you of how exponential functions work." And that's what we're talking about. And people are out there fucking hobnobbing and everything else like it ain't no big deal. Like, yeah, it ain't no big deal. You got people out there licking things on the shelf in the supermarket and stuff like that and putting their face on video. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't do that. Because if 18 million motherfucking people die and they go back and look and see your shit that could get ugly. I wouldn't do that. That's a bad idea. You can do whatever you want, And look, I'm a gnat flying around a dog's ass. I'm not a notable anybody. But I'm looking at the way that Fauci and everybody standing behind Donald Trump is looking, and all of a sudden they're kind of sort of switching gears and they're saying, well, it could be bad, and they don't know how they want to play it off. They don't want to know if they want to, how much they want to downplay or whatever. But I'm just saying that's a back of the envelope projection that anybody can make. And I looked at it, I was just thinking about it. I was like, something doesn't seem right about this. It just doesn't, something doesn't add up, and why all of a sudden are these people finding Jesus? And I heard this death toll of 150,000 over the United States, with this as really stupid as we've been as a country. Just going to let this thing roll on in. 1% of 300 million is 3 million. 1% of 300 million is 3 million. So, and so, wherever the wiggle room is in, that's why you get geniuses from MIT to sit down and calculate all of the effects, what's mitigating and what's not. That's why you get those geniuses to figure that shit out, what it's really going to be. So this is an assumption that the way the curve has been up to this past Saturday is going to be similar. The curve in 30 days is going to be similar to the curve that we had in the past 35 days. Is that reasonable or not? And can you use E to sort of like get an idea of what that's going to look like? And if it's anything similar, then you're talking about 18 million people dead in the United States alone. So, you decide. Most people are not going to see this video anyway because you know how YouTube is. They're going to say, "Oh, no, demonetized, off the fucking, see ya." But I challenge anybody, look, take this figure and run it past Fauci or any of those cats. Anybody who knows anything about this shit. You look in their eyes, you look at the way they are, the way they present, and there's some shit they ain't telling you. Another thing is, I was just the World Economic Forum, they're saying, well, it might not be as bad as they say because, you're looking at the number of people that we don't really know how many people have been infected and, and stuff like that. And that's true. That's true. But I'm not looking at any of that shit. I'm looking at the curve of the past 35 days and just saying, and just stipulating that the curve is going to remain pretty much the same out to 65 days. And if that's true, and so they're saying, well, no, that's going to change. For some reason, the death rate's going to change. It's going to go down. Does that make sense? I mean, if we're running out of PPE and we're running out of ventilators and we're running out of this and running out of that, and we've been caught with our pants down and we really don't know what we're doing, it's like Pearl Harbor. Is the death rate going to go up or down? If it goes up, see, so there it is, and I'm sure that there's a mathematical person out there who will pick this apart, and I hope so, and I hope I'm wrong. But that's a back of the envelope, projection that anybody can do, and I'd be thrilled to hear that it's all wrong. Oh no, because you didn't take into account this and you didn't take into account that, and okay, sure, whatever. But really what I want to, what I'm really hoping is that the people out there that haven't taken it seriously start taking it seriously, because if that's true, fucking around, dicking around is going to get some motherfuckers killed. And y'all need to tighten the fuck up. Okay? Seriously. And if you don't, that's on you. But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to have video of me outside fucking out in a supermarket licking the fucking bottles and cans and putting them back on the shelf if 18 million motherfuckers die. that might not be really good. And there's a whole lot of reasons why I didn't want to make this video, but there are a lot of people that are not taking it seriously, and it probably will bode better for us if we take it more seriously sooner rather than later, and just do some simple shit, common courtesy, man. That's all. I just watched Cuomo, the governor of New York, trying to tell people, hey, have some, it's common courtesy, man. Don't put other people in harm's way. Because people are out dicking around, not practicing, not doing the social distancing thing and whatever. And look, I'm not making this shit up. By all means, pick it apart, tear it apart. I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's, I'm sure there's a million different ways that this could be, 18 million is a big number. That's a big number. So, and if that's anything close to fucking true, then worldwide this could be ridiculous. But, we've seen that measures taken in other countries have an effect, have a positive effect. So, that's it. And then like I said, the only reason I'm doing this is because, my wife said, make the video. Make it because people are not taking it seriously. And, God, I wish you guys the best. Thanks for your support. Take care of yourselves. There's nothing to fear but fear itself. I'm not trying to, I'm not a fear monger. I don't want to sell. I'm not selling fear here, but I would say just an ounce of caution is better than a pound of cure. You know what I mean? And that's it. I love you guys. Chill. And that's it. I'll see you. My name is Arbitrary. This has been News from the Can. Thanks for watching.